Yo, Cowboy. I mean, Algo Cowboy. And we're live on the live stream right here on YouTube. And listen, if you're listening to us, if you're sitting on the sidelines, don't sit around and wait too long. There's a lot of things happening in the world. You want to capitalize on the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. In order for you to do that, what in the world was that?
I don't
You
know,
have to
dude.
be.
Sorry, my bad.
You have to be in the position where you can capture as much wealth as possible. Algo Factory Tech teaches you how to do that. The link is in the description box. And with that being said, Cowboy, let's get into it.
All right, so we have Tuesday. Tuesday is a good day. I actually have a little bit of a trade on. I put for the Algo Factory group. It's a little bit of a scalp, and it almost went straight to target right as I entered it. So for people who are kind of new to this, perhaps, maybe it's your first time watching this video, this is sort of a beginner version of what we do over at Algo Factory every day. And so we get on and we talk about the markets. We ask questions that are perhaps asked by our private members. If it's a simple sort of a beginner question, we'll actually answer it on this show for everybody to see. In fact, we have one already from somebody named Jay, and Jay says probably a stupid question, and then blah, 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 blah. Well, it's probably not a stupid question, actually. This is a good question because I've already read it, and we're going to answer it. So, Jay, thank you for that and contributing to the show. So this is where we also can go over, say, some basics. Like we can go over, for yesterday, we talked about what's an order book, and that was in the private group. Yesterday, we went over what's happening during the week, the kind of news, the way that news might affect things, maybe time to either trade a certain way or avoid, and we answered questions from people. So this is Algo Factory. We build traders, and you can go to our website. It's right there on the screen, www.algofactory.com. That's not it. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm going to fix that. It's www.algofactory.com. .tech. All right, now I know our own website. I swear to God, I know our own website. But that's it on the screen, algofactory.tech. Go check it out. Also, I will flash up momentarily a QR code. You can zap that and head over as well. So that'll take straight to the website. So at any rate, we went over the week yesterday, what's going to happen in the news and things like that. Just a brief, quick look at that today. Let's see here. I think we had some news early today. Let's see. August the 1st. It's the first of the month, so you do always want to be cautious on the first of the month because, first of all, there is data coming out at in another hour and 15 minutes. Some manufacturing data, jobs data. So if you're in like a kind of a day trade, if you're in a trade where you it's like a noise can wipe you out. Basically, it's a low time frame trade where news can cause the kind of price movement to either ruin your trade potentially or make you win. That's a bit of a risk. It's a bit of a gamble. So I personally would wait to be trading any Forex or currency markets, especially until after 10 a.m. EST, right? Today. So the data you can see right there is those two red I'm highlighting it, but those two red envelopes. So that's happening. So right after that, though, the great thing is, and there's also there's that orange one below it for the manufacturing prices that might have an effect. Long story short, it's all at the same time. So it could be that, it all affects, it can cancel each other out. We just don't know what's going to happen. Now, a swing trade, just for the people who are looking for some definitions out there, a day trade is when you're in and out within a short period of time. A swing trade is when you are in and out, say, like in a day or two, or maybe a few days. So now a swing trade, by virtue of just the way that those work in the time frame on which you're trading, those news events have a much lower probability of knocking you out of the trade. There are sort of these news events that can knock you out that are like big time, like the CPI, all that kind of stuff, like those heavy events, FOMC. That's even if I'm in a swing trade, I kind of tighten my stops on a trade like that. If I'm in profit or if I'm not in profit, I even tighten the stops then, or I just simply exit depending on what's happening with my algorithm. But this week is not having those kind of events. So if I were in a swing trade, I wouldn't really worry too much unless I was close to stopping out. And then if you're close to stopping out, there's nothing you can do anyway. So almost kind of, I would be leaving those alone. So today after 10 a.m. EST, which is in an hour and 15 minutes, I'm going to start looking for trades, and this show will be over by then, but that's just the way it's going to work. So the first thing I want to do after talking about this is moving over to Jay's question. Let me see here. So again, Jay said probably a stupid question. I disagree. I think this is a good question. TRY-USD, what she's talking about is the Turkish lira, I believe. And ARS-USD, not sure what that one is. It's obviously another currency pair, have been going down every day for years. Why don't we short these in Forex or in crypto since there is never a losing week? Take some good margin on it. Well, Jay, your margin is set wherever you go. So you're not going to be able to control your margin, right? If you want to short that, go short it. Here's the problem. Those, people make money on exotics, right? Those are considered exotics. There are liquidity problems. So as soon as you enter that trade, you're going to be down some money if you enter at market. And entering at limit is real tricky because they're on such a trend that you have to wait for a pullback to enter at limit. And what that means is, like, we talked about this yesterday at length, and I even put a clip from, the private lab. I just cut out a few minutes of it and I put it on YouTube. So for those who are going to be possibly confused about what I'm about to say, go look at the clips on YouTube from yesterday, and this will explain everything what I'm about to say. But the spread on these exotic currencies is often like 20 pips. Right? So to enter at market is going to put you in the red immediately. To enter at limit may not happen, right? You have to wait for a pullback, and there's ways to do that. But the problem is that, okay, sure, they're moving down, but you're talking about kind of a long-term trade. So if you what you said here, furthermore, to finish your question, you said, I had this trade, made money for nearly a year on eToro. Then one day without warning, the overnight fee went to $17.90 USD and the weekend went to 3,600. Yeah, that's the other reason why we don't trade these, because you have crazy fees, you have liquidity issues, you have geopolitical problems that can just turn this trade into something else. So, that's the problem with exotics, is that they're a bit unpredictable in that sense. So, I'd say, and again, I'm not giving advice here, but I'm just saying what I would do. If I was in some kind of a trade like that and I was well into profit, then I would be out of it. But here's the thing. I don't have capital that's patient enough to sit and wait for months or years. I'm in a trade at 10 a.m. and I'm out at 10:45. So it's not in my personality to go ahead and play this, 4-month, 5-month trade. It's not in my personality. It's not in my algos. So that's why I don't play these. And I think you're going to find that's the case with most people. But you know what? If you're essentially like, if you've been in, nearly a year in a trade, at that point you're investing. And effectively, you're investing in the dollar, because it's not that the lira was going down because of a lot of manipulation and inflation and stuff that the gorilla could probably tell us about. But and I don't know about the ARS. I don't even know what that is. I have to actually look that up. ARS. But it's just that the dollar is going up against these. And again, the lira is, that's going to be tricky. Oh, the Argentine, same thing. Yeah, Argentine peso. So the Argentine peso and the Turkish lira are dealing with massive inflation. So they're going to go down against pretty much anything. And then the dollar has been relatively strong. But understand that these, when those fees, the overnight fee went so high, there's a good chance it had to do with the pivot in the interest rate or something like that. In fact, if you go back to whatever date that was, that those fees happened to you, I bet you can put that date on the Dixie, the DXY chart, which is the basically it's the dollar index, and I bet you on a high time frame that sucker turned around right about that time. So, you got to understand that that's what happens when you're in exotics, and that's what happens when you hold a trade for months and months and months. And I just don't do that. So you can do that, but the reason that you don't do that is because of what happened to you, to answer your question. I hope that helps. If that doesn't answer your question, feel free to elaborate, and I will see if I can continue to answer your question. But it was a good question, not a stupid question at all. You see these charts that are like going in your direction. You're like, oh man, why don't I trade this? It's like, it looks really good. And then, why not? And then you get in and you make money. Hey, that's good. But then things happen, right? And that's why people stay away from exotics for a number of reasons, but that's just one of them. So we got a lot of people saying hello. We got in the chat, Christina Borreas. We have Val the Girl, Brian Dimery. We have, who was that? Oh, Mavbet. What's up, Mavbet? So yesterday in the private group, we had a real good show. MavBet was having some issues with her backtesting, and I asked if she wanted me to take a look at her algorithm. So there's a way in TradingView, which is the software that we use, there is a way that we can take MavBet's chart template, which is basically going to be the proto algo, if you will, and then we can go ahead and port that over to my screen. And I was able to find some of the issues and basically eliminate the issues that were causing her to have some issues or to have some lack of success in her backtesting. She was hitting, I think, about 50%, winning 50% of the trades, which is actually not bad. If you can win half your trades and then set your risk to reward ratio to where, like, for example, say 2-to-1, meaning that you're risking $100 to make 2, meaning that every time you lose 100. Every time you win, you're winning 200. Then you can lose half your trades and still be very profitable. So basically, you're sitting at a 1.5 to 1 in the end, right? So that's beautiful. If you are winning 50% of your trades and you have a risk to reward ratio of 2-to-1, then essentially, I believe your expectancy, I think your expectancy is going to be like 1-to-1. So every time you click, you're winning $100 on average, right? I think that's the math. So that's beautiful if you could do that. It's not a bad algo to begin with, but I did identify what were some inconsistencies. And the main lesson is that, you always have to back test using the same rules, right? And I'm not saying that MavBet didn't do that, but I think that might have been what was happening. So if you're going to back test, this is the scientific method. Okay, this is literally, I'm applying the scientific method. I do have some of a science background. I was in pre-med, I was gonna be a doctor. I switched away, went to economics. 33% of biomed majors at my university who left went to economics. I was one of them. One of the larger than average brains that went over to finance that we see in this world. So long story short, that's I don't even know where I was going with that, but long story short, I do understand the scientific method. So you apply that, you have the same rules to each of your experiments. So you go back in time and you are able to sort of like look at those inputs, and you're able to do experiments on the TradingView platform. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the TradingView's website in the message. What do you call it? Yeah, the message area. www.tradingview.com. So if you can use that to back test, and you can go ahead and forward test. But if you're not using the same inputs, right, you're not doing the same experiment each time. So the scientific method goes awry. So it's always got to be the same. And I think that was the lesson. I'm not totally sure. It might be that MavBet was doing it right, but from what I was seeing, it didn't look like it. So, but I mean, even as much as MavBet was doing, it was still at a 50% win rate, which is actually really good in the world of trading. It's like you can profit on that. So, kudos to MavBet for being brand new, putting together an algo that has a profitable, or at least a potentially profitable win ratio. And she must have had some really good instincts, because all I had to do was a couple of tweaks and we got a lot more profitable. So we actually got 50% more profitable than where she was based on a cursory back test. And that's what we do. This is, look, for, $49.99 a month, right? We have an entire university over at algofactory.tech. Okay, so I put together a university of basically 4 types of subjects, if you will. And I'm going to show you right on the screen right now what that is. So we teach you the basics. It's called the Essentials course here on the left. And then we have the Algorithmic Structure course, where we teach you how to build an algorithm. And remember, an algorithm isn't like, somebody's coding something, you have to know how to do computer code, or you have to pay somebody to code it. It doesn't work that way. If you want to have a trade algorithm automated, we can help you do that and probably limit the cost, because that can cost $5 to $10 grand. So we can probably help cut down on those costs. We know we have some good relationships in that world, and I personally understand how to build an algorithm such that it can be coded, because some algorithms cannot be coded, or at least not very easily. I know how to build an algo where a coder can do it in a shorter amount of time, right? So that's my knowledge. Besides building an algo purely, I know how to build them in that kind of way, because I have enough understanding of coding. But you have an operations course, which is where we teach you how to treat trading like a business, and the ethos course, which is trading psychology. And without the operations and the ethos course, most likely you will lose money. I don't care if you have the perfect algorithm, the perfect trading method. If you don't get the trading psychology. And if you don't know how to treat this like a business, there's a really good chance you're going to lose all your money. And as we say, especially in Forex, and imagine in most markets, but definitely in like Forex, probably crypto, anytime you're trading in the kind of way that we're trading, there's basically 90% of all traders lose 90% of their money in the first 90 days. It's a common statistic that you hear, definitely in Forex. And what the problem is everybody is using the same tools and they're not getting any guidance. So what we do is we provide education, right? We don't give any investment advice. You have to do your own research. You have to talk to a licensed advisor before you risk your money in the markets, because you can lose your money that way. So we're not giving any investment advice, but what we do is we give education as to how markets work, the nuts and bolts of it, how algorithms are built. And then you build your own, and then you make sure you talk to who you need to talk to professionally, and then you do your own risk and your own, research. And I mean, look, enough time spent on this, most people, I'd say virtually everybody can be successful if they put in the work. And this is not a get-rich scheme. This is a marathon, not a sprint, right? So you're not going to get on here and all of a sudden next month be making millions of dollars. It doesn't work that way. It's actual work. You're going to have to do some studying, and we're here to help you. And we have a Telegram that's a one-on-one kind of situation. It's not one-on-one really, but look, if you ask me a question, I can answer it in there, or I can answer it on this show. And I'm in there all weird hours, like, because I trade the European session. Oftentimes I'm there at midnight, especially if you're on the other side of the world. There's oftentimes when I can answer those. I was up today at 3:30 in the morning. It's just like, my time. So that's, even earlier for a lot of people on the other side of the country. So long story short, we're here for you. What we're offering at $50 a month is incredibly cheap. The next closest kind of comparison to us is charging 6 times that much money, and we are going to raise the price. So what we'll do is, if you get in at $49.99, we will grandfather you into that, and you'll have that price as long as you don't let your membership lapse. So that's the sales pitch, and it's beautiful. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was like, look, I know this sounds like a sales pitch, and it is a sales pitch, but what we're offering is real, right? So if you are a good salesperson, it's because what you're offering sells itself. All I got to do is show it to you. And this stuff over here is badass. It can give you financial independence. In fact, as you're giving us that gorilla send off, give us your thoughts on why Algo Factory is valuable in the current climate and what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I've been saying for years, especially for the last decade, I was like, you know what? There are very few exploits available for the average American, right? There's very few things as an American that you have access to, right? Most Americans cannot get access to, let's just say, the market, because nobody can teach it proficiently. It's very difficult to learn for most people, and there's no algorithmic component behind it. There's no well put together button down curriculum that allows people to learn in the most easiest of ways. So the market is out for everybody. So the other aspect of it will be like cryptocurrencies and precious metals. You got to hold on to these things while everything is crashing in order for you to kind of survive on the other end of it. At Algo Factory, folks, you got to understand, whether the market is up, whether the market is down, you're making money. If the market's crashing, hey, guess what? We're making money. The market's pumping up, guess what? We're making money. And we teach you in the way where, you're not just locked into the U.S. market. I mean, there are ways that, we can get into in the future broadcast where you can, invest and trade in other markets all over the world. So this is one of those few things where you can be sitting on a beach in Bali, picking a lint from your belly button, checking up on your trades while your algorithm is doing the work for you. And I've said it so many times. If you give me 6 months of your time, give me 6 months, right? Give me 6 months and let Cowboy help you go through the coursework. And if you give us that, you'll be proficient in trading. And you work hard. I'm telling you right now, if you develop an algorithm where, we help you and it's scalping $100 a day, which is super easy to do. That's $36,000 a year. Go to your boss and say, hey, you know what? I want a $36,000 raise. He'll laugh at you. You could do that over here. And not only can you do that here, you can get yourself in a level where you can fire your own boss. You can fire your boss. You could be your own boss. Maybe you could retire your spouse's income where both of you guys don't have to work. These are the opportunities that you have. because there's very little exploits. Algo Factory.tech is a prophecy fulfilled. Okay, it's a prophecy fulfilled. Look, you can spend your time learning all sorts of stuff. Dedicate 6 months. Give me 6 months of your time. I'm telling you, your life will be radically changed. Cowboy, let's go to the private lab.